Before I will talk about neurodiversity, I have to say I'm not a spokesperson for the autism community. So I'm a guest. When I go and visit the autism community, I'm a guest. So all I can say is from a standpoint of a guest. So I will take you on to my journey into, it's like journey pictures, like holiday pictures for my holidays every time I get invited to join the autism community to talk to them. So several years ago when I was a younger person, because I want to bring some passion to you about neurodiversity. And when I was a younger person and I saw for the first time the human brain and how neurogenesis exists and you can see dendrites connecting, this was a huge moment for me. This was a moment like seeing God for me. Like, wow, this is happening up there. And 1 year later, I was still the younger person than I'm now. I wanted to become a clinical psychologist, not an organizational psychologist. So I went into some clinic and I did diagnostics, and I really was interested in every condition where the brain was connected differently. So I did ADHD diagnostics, I did autism diagnostics. And if you go to one of these diagnostics, it's not like a regular visit to your doctor. You're in there for 1 minute and 47 seconds, and then you go out there and have a diagnosis. You spend a lot of time with me. So we do a lot of tests, we talk a lot. And with all these interviews I was doing, I was realizing there were really smart people there, funny people in front of me, people who wanted to enjoy life. And some of them had a co-diagnosis, which was depression. And I would have the same diagnosis. If you're really smart and you want to enjoy life and you sit there and all you can do is working in a so-called disability working place, you would be depressed as well. So I stopped wanting to be a clinical psychologist and I went out of the clinic and I said, well, I want to do research. How did these people get jobs? How did these people stay into jobs? So I went out there and I started doing research. And I did that after meeting, I spent 1.5, 2 years just meeting autism right groups, autism self-help groups, and I went there and said, well, I'm a psychologist. I'm pretty good at statistics, and I'm quite okay in listening, being super extroverted. I have some questions, and maybe these questions can help you in your life. Do they? So we talked. And so I stumbled across neurodiversity. And neurodiversity, you can see it here, adopts the viewpoint of a social model of disability. So the person per se is not pathologically disabled. It gets disabled by society. What does that mean? That means that there's a majority of people, so-called neurotypical people. And these people set a standard, how to talk, how to communicate, how to behave. And you can imagine if your brain is wired differently, you will have another viewpoint on the world. So maybe you have a different communication. You have different ideas. You try to communicate in different styles. And the others just don't understand you. So what they do, the majority does, is they call you disabled. And the neurodiverse point of view just turns it around and says, well, stop treating us like we are disabled. Please start understanding us, listening to us. So it's not just autism. Autism is, I'm working in the field of autism research, but there's more to it. There's ADHD, dyslexia, and many more. And I'm a positive psychology, as I was introduced. And so I like strength-based approaches. And so positive psychology and diversity combined with my interest for human brains leaves me with neurodiversity. So the first thing I was asking, well, what are the barriers And there's a lot of misinformation. So if we talk to people on the spectrum, most of the time when you talk to them, there's like, yeah, they think I have these superhuman functions. And if you talk to neurotypical people and say, well, I'm working with autistic people, they're like, oh, the Rain Mans? I was like, yeah. Oh, I know autism. I have seen The Big Bang Theory. So most information people get about autism is from pop culture. Just imagine how you would feel if your in-group was defined by pop culture. And people have seen one movie, let's say Clueless. And then they say, I know everything about women. I have seen Clueless. Like that women from Clueless? No one would be happy about this. So don't do this with other out-groups and in-groups. Then there's problem with the sensory environment. Most of the time it's noise, sometimes it's lightning. So it's very distracting. Imagine you have problems filtering out other stuff that goes around, especially other human beings. And noises and repeating noises, like hitting a keyboard. So that is a problem, especially in huge offices. Then there's communication issues. If you have a look at the diagnosis of autism, that is one of the key points. It's communication. It's miscommunication, it's problems in understanding, it's nonverbal communication most of the time. Just say what you want to say. Stop using eyebrows and non-verbal. You should have get me. I was doing like, what? And then, of course, there's workplace discrimination, workplace bullying. We will find that too. And this doesn't start, with autistic people, this doesn't start in offices. This starts in schools. But I want to talk about their strength. So in 2014, that's rather old, but really interesting study we did there was just ask them, what kind of occupational strength do you see in yourself? And then we asked neurotypical people, what kind of strength do you see in yourself? And then we got this pattern of skills. And I'm really not an entrepreneur. I've never worked with entrepreneurs. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a researcher. So to all the entrepreneurs out there, if you see this skill set, you will find a job for that. And we will see that in a few minutes. A lot of entrepreneurs did that. They saw this profile and they said, well, this is made for IT. But not just IT, but IT was the first to react. And this is a code checker. So people on the spectrum doing really well on code checking. But then there are some who don't like computers. Because if you have met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. You have not met all of them. So they are like heterogeneous as any other group. Some of them like computers, some of them like coding, and their brain makes them to expert in coding. They're equipped for this work. But if you don't like computers or coding, and I don't like coding very much, there must be some other jobs. So to all the entrepreneurs, look at this profile, create jobs. So, because that one was old, we made a new one. We, in the image project, and I will tell you about this soon, in the image project, we walked across 5 European countries, asking again, what kind of strength do you see in yourself? And these are the top 5 strengths. And once again, we have attention to detail, systemizing, and logical reasoning in the top. And once again, this is a profile for a job. If you're looking for people with specific strength, here they are, like everyone else. So I promised you I will talk about the image project because this is happening now. So 2 countries are already dropped out of the PowerPoint, but I will tell you what's missing in this picture. So we started it last year. It's a European project. It's an Erasmus Plus project, and I'm working on it with my gifted colleague, Sarah, sitting over there. So obviously one of these two had been a German flag. And it's 5 European partners. So who else is missing? France is missing. France is missing here. So we have the Netherlands, UK, and Finland. And it's not just psychologists, it's people in IT, design people. Finland is special education. So we want to bring together in the next 2 years now. During the last month, we had all this data collection in interviews and quantitative surveys. And now we want to bring together career advisors at universities. We want to talk to employers and bring them together with autistic students and graduates. Because IMAGE is an acronym. Psychologists love acronyms. It stands for Improving Autistic Graduate Employability. That is the IMAGE project. So this one goes on till, so we will start workshops in October to December, probably. So if you're looking to participate in one of our workshops, bringing you together with autistic students, letting us know what do you as entrepreneurs need from us to communicate to you so that you can create jobs for autistic people, get in contact with me. And that is from another study, and this is one of my most favorite slides, because I'm a researcher and I like numbers. And these are some correlations. I can use my strength in my job correlated to job satisfaction, which is quite high, like it would be with every other person in the world. So there's absolutely no difference. And I can use my strengths in my job, life satisfaction. Again, this is with autistic people. And so you see, if you think about your own life, this wouldn't differ much. And this shows you, this is regular people, just with different brains. They're different, not less. They want to have jobs. They want to use their strength. They want to work. And they want to be out there and do something with their life. So there are some organizations that already reacted. And there are some organizations being specialized in people on the spectrum. That's Passwerk in Belgium, Auticon, formerly from Berlin. So Berlin was a pretty good place, or is still a pretty good place to talk about this. Then from Auticon came Diversicon, because the CEO of Auticon said, well, there should be more than just the IT branch reacting to this. So he created Diversicon. Then there's Specialisterne from Denmark, and then there's an unusual one, that's the Israel Defense Force. They reacted to it, and they have a military intelligence unit with autistic soldiers. So these are the biggest companies right now reacting to this call for jobs. So, to keep it short, because I know time is running, and I see the two from over there. Here's a take-home message. So first of all, get a realistic view of the condition. Don't get your view on this condition by watching pop culture. Just imagine how you would enjoy a life where every information another person has on you comes from a Netflix series. That would be hilarious from time to time, but on the other, you get annoyed by it. Listen to the other individual. There's another person. It's not a diagnosis that's sitting in front of you. There's another person with dreams, hopes, strength, weaknesses, interests, that wants to do something with his, her, or their life. And then there's this change. We need a change in conversation, and this is what started my research, and this is why the community reacts to the research. I changed the conversation from autism to strength, and looking what kind of strength do you peeps have? Why do you see barriers? What kind of barriers do you expect to hit on the way into a job? What kinds of barriers do you experience? And how can we overcome these barriers with your strength? So, the last take-home message is something you can take home if you're an entrepreneur. How can I create an environment so this can become a win-win situation? From organizational psychology, I know most people in organizations like the word win-win and like to create win-win situations. It's obviously a positive word, but it's doable. It's manageable to do that because you will get really, really good and loyal employees if you create this environment. So, thank you for your attention.